mushroom compound is now a prescription cancer drug in Japan. Another mushroom made athletes run 28 seconds longer before exhaustion, and that single data point helped build a $35 billion global industry. Cordyceps. Cordyceps is a parasitic fungus that infects caterpillar larvae underground in the Himalayas. It slowly eats the living insect from the inside. Then it pushes a stalk up through the dead caterpillar's head. What ends up in your hand is a thin orange-brown tendril, no bigger than a blade of grass, a dried insect corpse with a fungal stem sprouting from it. Tibetan herders noticed something strange centuries ago. Their yaks got stronger after grazing where these fungal-infected insects grew. The fungus entered traditional Chinese medicine, typically simmered in broths and soups for hours, where the dried fungus slowly releases its compounds into the liquid. And then it entered the Olympics. In 1993, the Chinese women's track team shattered multiple world records. Their coach publicly credited a cordyceps supplement. The story spread globally and built an industry practically overnight. Here is where the science catches up to the folklore. A controlled human trial found that cordyceps militaris genuinely improved oxygen capacity and exercise endurance. Participants ran 28 seconds longer on a treadmill test. That does not sound dramatic, but in exercise physiology, 28 seconds is the difference between a result and a headline. That's where things split. The darker side of this story lives in the supply chain. Wild Himalayan cordyceps now sells for up to $40,000 per kilogram, more expensive per gram than gold. And over 70% of wild cordyceps products tested have been found adulterated or mislabeled. That sounds like bad news. But I'm here to tell you that it's not, and here is why. Cordyceps militaris is cultivated in controlled facilities, and it's what the clinical research actually tested. Lab-grown cordyceps is consistent, traceable, and produces the same active compounds. The caterpillar version is a historical curiosity that became a luxury status symbol. The version that works is the one you can actually buy. One sounds like a myth, the other is a supplement with actual data behind it. Cordyceps sounds like folklore that turned out to be real. Reishi sounds like folklore that modern science keeps proving more right every year. Reishi. Reishi was called the mushroom of immortality in ancient Chinese texts over 2,000 years ago. Royalty took it, Taoist monks took it. For most of modern history, you could dismiss that as mythology. It grows as a glossy, lacquered shelf fungus, deep red-brown with a polished sheen that looks almost like carved mahogany wood. It is far too tough and woody to bite into, which is why, for centuries, it has been simmered slowly into a bitter, earthy tea, often cut with ginger or honey to make it drinkable. A 2024 randomized controlled trial changed the conversation. Healthy adults who took reishi extract showed a 34% increase in natural killer cell activity. Those are the immune cells your body deploys against viruses and early-stage cancer cells. That is not a folk remedy claim. That is a peer-reviewed number with a p-value, 2,000 years of reputation, and a single trial just made it measurably real. Reishi also interacts with GABA receptors in the brain, the same system that anxiety medications target. This is why practitioners take it at night. It is not sedating in a pharmaceutical sense. It quiets the nervous system in a way that makes sleep deeper and more restorative. Reishi took 2,000 years to get validated by modern lab equipment. The next mushroom took about 10 years to become the highest-scoring antioxidant ever tested. And it is not technically a mushroom at all. Chaga. Chaga is not a mushroom fruiting body. It is a dense black mass that a fungus grows into birch trees across Siberia, Canada, and Alaska. It grows slowly, destroying the tree over 10 to 20 years. It looks like a chunk of burnt charcoal growing sideways out of a tree trunk with a cracked, charred black exterior that breaks open to reveal a rust-orange interior. That black exterior is melanin, the same pigment in human skin, and it is what makes chaga chemically unusual. Chaga records the highest ORAC value ever measured in any food substance. ORAC is the standard lab test for antioxidant capacity. Chaga scores over 146,000. Blueberries score around 4,600. That number looks staggering, and in a test tube, it is. But this is where things change. The science behind what that number actually means for your body is less dramatic than the number itself. Chaga's betulinic acid, absorbed directly from the birch tree it parasitizes, has shown anti-tumor activity in many lab studies. The question is, how much of it reaches your cells? Russian novelist Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote about chaga as a cancer treatment in his novel Cancer Ward in 1968. The traditional preparation is a slow decoction, breaking the hard black chunks into smaller pieces and boiling them for hours to extract the water-soluble compounds. Once dried and ground, chaga brews into a dark, earthy tea that tastes surprisingly like coffee, with a hint of vanilla. What most people don't realize is that preparation method matters enormously. Toss chaga powder in a quick cup of hot water, and you are leaving most of the active compounds behind. Chaga is an antioxidant record holder with an asterisk. The next mushroom does not hold records, it holds government approvals. Turkey tail. Turkey tail looks exactly like its name. Thin, fan-shaped stripes of brown, gray, and white that grow in overlapping rings on dead logs, each bracket no thicker than an eyelid, with velvety, concentric bands of color radiating outward. It is one of the most common mushrooms on Earth. You have probably walked past it without noticing, and that is one of the most remarkable things about it, because what it contains changed cancer treatment in an entire country. Turkey tail is far too tough and leathery to eat directly. It is almost always dried and ground into powder, then taken as a capsule or steeped as a tea. It looks like a piece of bark on a dead log. And it is a prescription drug. Turkey tail contains two polysaccharides, PSK and PSP. In Japan, PSK, polysaccharide K, is not a supplement. It is a prescription cancer drug, approved since 1977. It is prescribed alongside chemotherapy for stomach, colorectal, and lung cancers. Hundreds of thousands of patients have received it. Japan's national health insurance covers it. PSK works by modulating the immune system, not attacking cancer directly, but training the body's own defenses to recognize and fight malignant cells more effectively. In the United States, turkey tail is available over the counter as a dietary supplement. Same mushroom, completely different legal reality depending on which country you are standing in. The National Cancer Institute funded a human clinical trial on turkey tail for breast cancer patients. The results showed immune system improvements consistent with the Japanese data. But the regulatory path from immune improvement to prescription drug in the United States is a multi-billion-dollar, decade-long process. The science is there, the approvals are not. Turkey tail taught Japan's medical establishment something the supplement industry is still trying to figure out how to market. The next mushroom taught the beauty industry the same lesson, just through a completely different mechanism. Tremella. Tremella looks like something that should not exist in a forest. It is a translucent, crystalline jelly that catches the light like ice that somehow grew on a tree branch. A bloom of white, nearly transparent fronds, delicate and trembling. Unlike most functional mushrooms, tremella does not work through your immune system. It works through hydration. Specifically, tremella holds 500 times its weight in water. What most people don't realize is that this property translates directly to human biology. Tremella polysaccharides are similar in molecular structure to hyaluronic acid, the molecule your own body produces to keep your skin hydrated, plump, and elastic. As you age, your natural hyaluronic acid levels drop. Tremella essentially mimics what your body used to do on its own. The texture is unlike anything else in the mushroom world, crunchy yet gelatinous, which is why it is typically used in sweet Chinese dessert soups, simmered with red dates and goji berries, until the liquid thickens into something silky. Most of the best data from studies comes from topical application, creams and serums. There is a reason tremella extract has become the ingredient that luxury Korean beauty brands use as their premium factor. Tremella does not fight cancer or extend athletic endurance. It does something more straightforward. It hydrates your skin from the inside. Sometimes the simplest claim is the one that actually holds up. Tremella is a beauty ingredient with emerging science. The next mushroom is a broad-spectrum antiviral that the ancient Greeks used, and modern medicine forgot. Agarikon. Agarikon is the rarest mushroom on this list. It grows on old-growth Douglas fir and hemlock trees in the Pacific Northwest. It looks like a beehive, a pale, chalky, elongated cone hanging from the side of a centuries-old tree. It takes 50 years or more to mature. Most people will never see one in their lifetime. Fewer than one in 1,000 old-growth forests still contain them. The ancient Greek physician Dioscorides recorded agarikon as a treatment for tuberculosis in 65 AD. The name he used, agaricum, is the root of the modern name. What most people don't realize is that for nearly 2,000 years, that was the last anyone heard of it. The mushroom was forgotten. Nobody studied it. Nobody looked for it. It is too woody and dense to be eaten in any culinary sense. The only way to access its compounds is through extraction, alcohol or hot water, pulling the active molecules out of the tough, fibrous mass over hours. Paul Stamets, the mycologist, rediscovered agarikon in the old-growth forests of the Pacific Northwest and began studying its antiviral properties. His research found that agarikon extracts demonstrated activity against multiple viruses, including influenza strains, herpes viruses, and orthopox viruses. The U.S. Department of Defense funded a BioShield program to study agarikon as a potential broad-spectrum antiviral. Here is where it gets complicated. The agarikon research is real and Department of Defense funded, but it is also almost entirely just test tube data. Human trials don't exist, and the supply problem is huge. You cannot farm agarikon at scale. Wild populations are barely hanging on. It is the most promising antiviral mushroom that almost nobody can actually use. Agarikon is on a race against extinction. The next mushroom is a race in the opposite direction, a fungus that the scientific community is actively trying to bring to more people, not fewer. Messima. Messima grows on mulberry trees across East Asia. It looks like a dark woody hoof, a shelf fungus, bracket-shaped, with a tough, cracked upper surface in shades of brown and charcoal. It is dried into a tough, bitter slab and typically powdered for tea or extract, where its compounds are released through slow, patient decoction rather than a quick steep. In traditional Korean and Chinese medicine, messima was used for digestive disorders and bleeding. The modern research direction is almost entirely focused on cancer. In many lab and animal studies, PLP has shown the ability to slow tumor growth and reduce the spread of cancer cells. It also appears to enhance the effectiveness of conventional chemotherapy agents, making cancer cells more sensitive to treatment rather than less. A Japanese study found that messima extract inhibited angiogenesis, the process by which tumors build their own blood supply to fuel growth. Cut off the blood supply and you starve the tumor. That is a mechanism distinct from the immune modulation of turkey tail or reishi. But here is where the story slows down. Human clinical data on messima is thin. Most of the impressive findings are still confined to animal models and lab studies. The compound is real. The mechanism is understood. The leap from mouse to human is expensive, slow, and nobody is funding it at the scale the data deserves. The gap between what the research suggests and what you can actually know is wider for messima than for any other mushroom on this list. The next mushroom has the opposite problem. The human trials exist, and the supplement industry has turned it into something the data never quite promised. Lion's mane. Lion's mane does not look like a mushroom. It looks like a white pom-pom crossed with a frozen waterfall. A cascade of soft, icicle-like spines hanging from a single stem. It is also the mushroom with the most human clinical research behind any claim on this list. And here is where it gets interesting. Fresh lion's mane has a texture surprisingly similar to crab meat, which is why chefs often pan-sear it in butter until the edges crisp and use it as a seafood substitute in everything from crab cakes to pasta. Inside lion's mane are two compound families, hericenones and erinacines. What most people don't realize is that these compounds cross the blood-brain barrier and stimulate something called nerve growth factor, a protein that tells your brain cells to grow, to repair, to form new connections. This is not supplement marketing language. This is a measurable biological pathway. A 2025 review in Frontiers in Nutrition confirmed the picture. Lion's mane increases markers tied to brain cell growth across multiple human trials. The trials are small, the effects are modest, but no other mushroom on this list comes closer to crossing from supplement territory into medically validated nootropic territory. But this is where things change. The catch is what's actually in the bottle. Most commercial mushroom supplements are not pure mushroom fruiting bodies. They are mycelium grown on grain. What you are mostly paying for is grain starch with some fungus mixed in. Whether your lion's mane contains the clinical dose is a completely separate question from whether lion's mane works. The research is real. The product on the shelf might not be. Every week, we break down the food you already buy, the science behind it, and the history behind it. If you'd like to see every pasta shape broken down just like this, click the video on screen now.